Thank you very much. How many people here feel wealthier than they did last year at this time? Anybody? How many people think the economy in their community is getting better? Right? How many people think that after the inauguration everything will be nice in their community? The economy is going to bloom all of a sudden. Okay, a couple people. In truth, it is the best of times and it is the worst of times. It is the best of times because, as people mentioned earlier today, we are about to inaugurate a President of the United States that nobody in this room and probably very few people around the world thought ever could be inaugurated in our lifetime. Somebody who's a white mother, black father from Africa, who grew up in very uncertain economic circumstances, different parts of the world, and rose in a very short period of time to become President of the United States. No one really would have predicted it, and I doubt even he would have thought it was possible when he started running. And it's a great inspiration for people not just in this community and not just in this country, but around the world. And as a result of that, I suspect that people around the world will begin again to look at the United States as a beacon of liberty and a beacon of freedom and as a place for inspiration. So in that way, we are going to celebrate tomorrow something that will make us feel very good, and I think in many ways it is the best of times for our country. We are finally honoring the promise that our founding fathers had when they thought and they said that this was a country where all men are created equal. They would have said all men and all women, but in those days they didn't think about women. But it's the worst of times as well because, as I kind of hinted earlier in my questioning, when Barack Obama finishes his inaugural address, no doubt it will be very inspirational for all of us, and he goes into the Oval Office, he will see that the problems are massive in terms of the economy. The economy we have now is the worst economy we've had since the Great Depression, and it could get as bad as the Great Depression. And it's bad for 4 reasons. One, we are in a systemic deleveraging, which is going to result in our ability to get credit being far more difficult than it's been at any time since the Great Depression. Right before the Great Depression, we had 250% of the GDP in the United States in debt. Right before the most recent time, we had 350%. In other words, we have more leverage in our system than we had before the Great Depression. And now we're massively deleveraging, and as a result, before when anybody could get a loan, now nobody can get a loan, and it's going to take a great deal of time before that changes. The recession itself will be much deeper than we have today. Right now, unemployment is 7.4%. It's going to go most likely to 10% or higher. In the Great Depression, it was 25%. I doubt that we'll get there, but it's very likely that we will get to 10 or 11%, and those statistics are very misleading because they don't include people who've given up looking for work. And as I think most people here know, these statistics are very, very misleading as well because they don't really indicate how bad it is in minority communities. It's far more difficult in minority communities than the rest of the population. In addition, we have a problem that our global economy has changed so much that the U.S. is not as important as it used to be. After World War II, we were 50% of the world's economy, 50%. Now we're roughly 20%. And as that declines, as our percentage of the world's GDP goes down, our lifestyle is going to go down with it. So we've got a long way to go before we're going to ever recover the kind of economic lifestyle that we would like. And as a result of that, I think it's the worst of times because not only is the economy bad and not only is it not going to get better for at least a year, but it's going to have the most adverse effect on the people who are least able to defend themselves, minority communities particularly. And while Barack Obama's ascension to power is going to be great in many ways in terms of showing what minorities can do, it really is not a situation where all minorities are going to benefit, particularly minorities who are represented in this room, because the truth is the Native Americans do not have the economic clout, the political clout that Black Americans have or Latinos have, because the numbers just aren't there. And as a result, you have to work much harder to deal with the economic problems. Now, what should you do? Well, I can't overnight and in a few minutes tell you the solution to all these problems, but I will tell you that as you've heard already, there are going to be efforts made by the Obama administration to change the situation, to deal with the economy. But nothing the Obama administration could do, absolutely nothing, will change the course of the economy in the next 6 months. It's already baked. any legislation that passes will not have any real impact for at least 6 months. It will feel good, but it won't have any real impact. But right now, there are about roughly 4 million people in Washington, D.C., give or take, here to see what's going on, to see the inauguration. Some people say it's 3.9 million to make sure the president gets out of town, and 100,000 to make sure that the inauguration occurs. The truth is, I really believe that about 4 million people are here to lobby through what they want on the stimulus bill, and this is what I mean. The economic stimulus bill you've heard about is going to be the mother of all bills. There is never going to be a bill that goes through this Congress that's going to have as many lobbyists. There may not be 4 million, but it'll be close to it. And if you go to Congress tomorrow or the next day, you'll never see so many people walking the halls of Congress trying to get what they want in this bill. And why is that? Well, the Congress of the United States has decided that we have to deal with this problem, and the Barack Obama administration has decided that we have to deal with it. So what are they going to do? Well, we're going to spend whatever it takes. We'll spend any amount of money. Right now, it looks like $850 billion to $1.2 trillion. We don't have the money, but we're going to spend it. We'll borrow it from the Chinese or the Japanese or somewhere, but we'll get it. And as a result, people do not seem to care in Washington right now about the impact of inflation, deficit spending, the value on the dollar. We're just going to spend what it takes to get this problem solved, and that's a good thing. But we don't really know exactly what to do with this money, so everybody's listening for ideas. And so my advice is to get up to Congress and talk to members of Congress about the ideas that you might have to take advantage of this money. There is never going to be an opportunity where you can get so much money so relatively easy as you are going to have in this stimulus package. What are the ideas that you might use? Well, one, I would recommend that you view yourself a bit as an emerging market or a sovereign nation within a nation, and really get some money from this legislation for development assistance, the same type of thing that we did with the Marshall Plan to provide to other countries, or now we provide to emerging countries outside the United States. Also, look for capital that might help create a sovereign wealth fund. Sovereign wealth funds are large funds that exist outside the United States, but they're used to invest in very attractive investment vehicles, and the benefits of that go to the citizens of those countries. The Native Americans might well consider things like that, getting assistance from this stimulus bill that will enable them to have a sovereign wealth fund, that will enable them to make investments, and to encourage people outside of the Native American community to invest in your community. Right now, that there isn't that much encouragement. But right now, you also have a problem in that Congress feels that with Barack Obama as President of the United States, the minority problem to some extent has been solved. We've shown that we are not discriminating against minorities, but that isn't really the case, and it isn't going to filter down to your communities unless you get to Congress and get to the administration and make sure they understand that you aren't being taken care of, and that Barack Obama's administration is very nice to have happen, but it isn't going to solve the problems of Native Americans. So my main advice today is to recognize that the economy is not going to get better anytime soon. Barack Obama's swearing in is going to be nice, but it isn't going to do anything for the economy for some time. And even when the legislation is passed, it will take at least 6 months before it's felt on the average person. And the average person in the economy is going to be far better off by this stimulus than the person in the minority community. They're going to take much longer time to recover from this situation. So I would take advantage of the opportunity that now is afforded to you to get members of Congress to listen, because members of Congress do not often recognize that Native Americans are not doing as well as other minorities, and they often don't recognize that the situation can be helped with more federal assistance, with more money, with more economic opportunities. So I would view yourself as somebody who is coming to Washington not as a special pleader, but as somebody who's getting what is rightfully yours. It's rightfully due to you, and it's something that I think you should take advantage of now, because there will never be an opportunity in your lifetime where the United States Congress is going to dole out money, pass legislation which provides as much money as it is now going to do.